Hello and welcome. When royals argue to reduce the powers of the monarchy, it's bound to cause some controversy. But then again, our guest has never been afraid to speak up. His commentary on issues ranging from democracy in the Arab world to international terrorism have made him an outspoken figure. And following the death of his uncle, King Hassan of Morocco, Prince Hicham bin Abdullah advocated stripping the powers of Moroccan royalty and essentially reducing his family into figures of national unity. But naturally, this call for democratization made the prince unwelcome in the royal household. Well, now living in the US as a fellow visiting researcher at Stanford University, Prince Hicham hasn't shied away from arguing for greater reform in the Arab world. But with extremism on the rise and American attempts to bring democracy to the region failing, is now the right time for reform? Don't forget, we take your questions on this program. The numbers are there on your screen. Prince Hicham, welcome to the program. Ironically, you join us from another top US educational institute, Princeton University. Anything interesting going on there as far as you're concerned?
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here with you in this program. My stop at Princeton, it's a convenient place to stop on the way off to California. From our region of the world to California, it's a very long flight, and it helps to stop for a breath of fresh air. So this is why I'm here.
Now, of course, we've got a lot to talk with you about, but I want to just start off on something just on you really personally. First of all, obviously your calls a few years ago for more democratization in Morocco made you a little unpopular with some of your royal family members. And I wonder where things have gone now. Has over time that rift healed at all?
I don't think it is helpful to focus on personal issues. I think it's important to stay impersonal and to talk about systems of governance, to talk about political development, and to talk about issues like this, which is frankly very important for the issue, for the region, and for Morocco, which is part of the region.
Do explain. I was going to say, Your Highness, do explain to me how you see that democratization process taking place. What in your what is the ideal situation as far as you see for a devolution of power?
The idea is not to strip monarchies from their power. The goal is to rationalize their roles in society so as to create stability and political development as well as economic growth. I think one of the problems in the region is authoritarianism, and it's important to move on towards a more democratic rule. I think it's important for all these issues. Where we stand now, I think it's a mixed picture. These regimes in the region do not resemble each other, and monarchies in the region do not resemble each other. Some are farther ahead in this process, others are further behind.
Things have opened up a fair amount, though, haven't they, in Morocco since King Mohammed VI came into power in 1999?
That's correct. It's been a slow process of devolution. I think Morocco is more of an open system than many of these political systems in the region since independence, for a variety of historical reasons. We've entered into an era of political liberalization, I think, since the late 90s with the end of the reign of the late King Hassan, and that process of liberalization, of opening, is continuing. I don't think we can say we're in a democratic transition. I think we're not there yet, but I think we're opening up gradually. Now, it's an uneven and an unbalanced picture, depending what parameters you look at.
We had an email that came in, Prince Hicham, from Amin in Casablanca in Morocco, saying the Party of Justice and Development, PJD, failed to come anywhere close to a parliamentary majority. The Socialist Union of Popular Forces, USFP, is becoming increasingly irrelevant. The United Socialist Party, PSU, has not secured more than 6 seats in parliament. Abu Bakr Jamai is in exile, and the independent press operates in a legal minefield. What are the realistic chances of constitutional reforms under a political configuration where no party can chip away at the king's monopoly over the political reform process?
We need, at this point, these last elections, which my countryman is referring to, I think are cleaner, were cleaner than previous elections. But elections are only a tool for democracy. It's not the substance of democracy. And election is just an event. Democracy is a process. The fundamentals are still there. And I think at this point one needs constitutional reform. one needs to rationalize the prerogatives of the monarchy, which exercises hegemony over the political space, in order for there to be a real transition. Having said that, there are reasons why these political parties, which you've referred to, have performed in the way they have. The USFP has been in government for 10 years, and in the eyes of many people has discredited itself. The PJD is a party with a strong base, but I think in the eyes of many people, perhaps they believe that the reference or the rationale behind referring to Islam as being the only party referring to Islam, being a monopoly for the PJD, may be problematic in the eyes of many people. Right. Also, perhaps many voters have not seen many difference between the PJD and other forces. They have seen it being too legalistic with the monarchy, and that may have penalized it. Anyways, we have today a very balkanized and very scattered political landscape, and it's not clear whether there will be some consolidation, some aggregation, and whether it will create the momentum, frankly, enough to put on the table, on the political agenda, for everybody collectively, certain reforms which are necessary.
Well, we have a call on the line from Ala in the United Kingdom. Go ahead with your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
My question is to Prince. The reform he wants to do in the Morocco, is that just for the royal family? Because what happens is that what we see in the Middle East as well, the royal families just travel when they go outside their palaces. They just travel on the different hospitals, just stuff. I mean, special for the royal people, the normal people, the ordinary people, they can't meet.
It's about the disconnect, right? So it's talking about the disconnect between the royal families, as you were discussing a little earlier, Prince Hicham, and the people in the Middle East in general.
I am going to shock you, Ritz. This is not an apology for monarchy, and certainly not, a defense in monarchy whatsoever. But it happens to be that in all the political systems in the region, monarchies are perhaps those that can lead or that can preside over a political transition, for one simple reason, that it is a way for them to ensure continuity. They can have a stake, and they have a deep interest in political reform, which is not the case for many other elites governing in the area. Having said that, as I said before, my ideal of monarchy is for the institution to play a role of arbitration and to be detached from the daily governance, from the day-to-day governance of affairs. When there are a lot of pressures in these societies for that to happen, when it will happen, it's another issue. But I think we should move beyond the stereotypes of princes and kings and so forth, the kind of stereotypes which exist in the psyche of people. Some of it is deserved, some of it is not deserved, and focus on what role these institutions can play. Have them play the role of representatives, have them play the role of facilitators of change, forces that will dampen political conflict, that will dampen polarization, that will help bring together or ease fragmentation that is frankly inherent to every democratic transition, especially given the social background, especially given the poverty and the economic problems that exist in the region.
Prince Hicham, we actually had an email that came in from France, and our viewer Hicham in France says, the advent of the new monarch has raised a lot of hopes, maybe too much, in the future, but the dreams and illusions have been terribly dashed after two electoral shams, in 2002 and 2007. Many Moroccans, especially the young, have lost any hope in changing the system in an evolutionary way from the inside by participating in the political system and by using the institutions available. This helpless situation may lead to some to contemplate or consider a revolutionary option. What's the Prince's take on this particular point?
Well, first of all, I'm going to begin with a general postulate. No institution is eternal, and at the end of the day, any institution is just the product of the social dynamics and the interaction between social dynamics happening in any country political context. I guess everybody is still in a scenario of evolution from the top down across the political spectrum, but if evolution leads nowhere, then these ruptures can happen. So I mean, there's nothing sacred, there's nothing cast in stone. This is not the Ten Commandments. Any institution reflects essentially what happens in society. Now precisely talking about the two elections, 2002 and 2007, my sense about this election is it was cleaner. But again, it has revealed something very, very important. Only 37% of voters actually went out to vote, of eligible voters. Out of these, 1 million, out of the votes, 1 million votes cast were essentially null. So we're talking about something in the low 20s, meaning that 80% of the population, of the eligible population to vote, has stayed outside this process and views this election as being marginal to their future. That's very serious. We can consider it apathy, we can consider it indifference, but apathy and indifference is just a psychological state. It can quickly and suddenly transform into violence, into other things, and this is something to pay attention to. I hope that all the political elite, that political parties in Morocco, and the central institution, being the monarchy, has read this message for what it is. It is a message of serious disenchantment. And the way to remedy that is not going to be easy. It's going to be creating a process of inclusiveness that leads one to political reform. How that happens, there is no recipe.
All right.
But it's an important beginning.
We have Garu Charan on the line from Paris. What would you like to ask?
I would like first to congratulate the Prince for his political clairvoyance. He's the kind of leader Morocco would very much need today. I would like to ask him if economic democracy wouldn't be better for Morocco today than political democracy.
Hey, economic democracy.
What does one mean by economic democracy? If one means economic justice or justice in the economic realm, there is no magic formula, and that only happens when you have institutions, accountability, and you have an increased role for parliament and government. That's the only way you can get this kind of economic justice. Now, if you want economic efficiency, which fosters growth and a better distribution, that too cannot happen unless you have accountable governance, unless you have a government that is accountable to the people, that has the means of executing any political program, and that is either sanctioned if it doesn't, or either is given another mandate if it does. Now, in both these interpretations, the only way you can reach this is with political reform. It is through democratic means. That's the conundrum here.
Now, it's interesting. There was a time, there was a talk of a new generation of leadership coming into the Middle East. We had King Mohammed VI in Morocco. We had King Abdullah in Jordan. Bashar al-Assad replacing his father Hafiz al-Assad in Syria. To what extent do you think, since that time, that the people of the Middle East have been disappointed, or perhaps not had their expectations of the new generation fulfilled?
Younger blood is one thing, reform is another thing, and we should not confuse the two. And in all fairness, Morocco and Jordan, and Morocco more, has more assets and could have more readily known transformations, which is not the case for Bashar al-Assad in Syria. Bashar al-Assad in Syria is presiding over a closed regime. At the end of the day, the elite in power represents only 5% of the population. It's very hard to see how he can open up the system without, threatening to be essentially marginalized, which is not the case for Jordan and Morocco. In general, and again, both Morocco and Jordan is very different, but I think there is a lot of potential, and there was a lot more room than was positively exploited. Having said that, we have to be fair. There are still positive things that have happened in Morocco, although, as one of my countrymen pointed, there is a kind of stagnation now. There is a need to re-energize the political field. Right. That's my assessment, in a nutshell, and it's kind of crude, but it's difficult to answer that question in 2 minutes.
I understand. Well, we have only a minute left, and I want to squeeze in a very quick call from Faisal in Sweden. Faisal, very quickly, your question or comment, please.
Hi. I was thinking that when the Prince is talking about democracy in a country like Morocco, what does it mean actually when a family chooses themselves to be elite and to be ruling over a whole nation?
Okay.
So what kind of
Faisal,
democracy is the
Prince Hicham, I have only 30 seconds for you, I'm afraid, but just to get an idea of where you think things might go next in Morocco.
As I said it before, I think positive things have happened. I think there is a culture of human rights taken root in Morocco. It's not just because of decades of struggles. It's also because of certain important decisions which have been taken at the helm of the political system. It's clearly not enough, and this vote is very important in terms of the abstention ratio. Right. I think we have to draw the lessons. And I think where it can go, it can really go either way. But we are at a crossroads. This time around it's different.
Well, Prince Hicham, many more things to talk about. I hope we get to speak with you again soon. Thank you for being with us.
I hope so too, sir. Thank you,
sir. Thanks for being with us as well. And on the next show, we discuss an ambitious program seeking to bridge the digital divide that puts a laptop in the hands of the world's poorest children. Send your emails to riz@aljazeera.net for questions. We'll see you next time. Street Talk is coming up next.